Retire Plugged In newsletter issue number 7. Does money guarantee a happy retirement? Planning well doesn't mean being ready, by Nora Hartquist. The real truth about retirement. You've worked for 40 years and saved well over $1 million in your retirement accounts. Or maybe you've worked hard, but never had the good fortune to be able to contribute much to a retirement account. Is happiness in retirement dependent on the amount of money you have saved? The answer is absolutely not. When we think about retirement, our minds immediately jump to money. Have I saved enough? Can I afford to pay for necessities, mortgage, rent, utilities, health care, transportation, and insurance? Will I still be able to enjoy eating out and buying things for the grandkids? We've met couples with Social Security, military, or federal pensions and significant retirement accounts who are still afraid they can't retire comfortably. Why? The short answer is no plan. The secret to security in retirement is not how much money or even income you have. It's planning to live with what you have in a way that fulfills the lifestyle you want. Read that last sentence again. That security gives you a basis to build a happy retirement, but doesn't guarantee a happy retirement. Those with significant savings can easily run out of money or be afraid to spend because there is no plan for those savings to provide guaranteed income for the basics, leaving them feeling free to spend the rest. And for those without significant savings, you've probably lived a lifestyle because you didn't have that extra income that you can now plan for and enjoy in retirement through Social Security and other means if you planned before retirement. We'll go into how these plans can be constructed for those with significant savings and those without significant savings in future newsletters. Today, let's address retirement basics. Money does not guarantee a happy retirement. As long as we can afford the necessities, that's what a plan is for. The rest may buy momentary happiness, a new TV, a dinner out, a special toy for that grandchild. But is that true happiness in retirement? Your retirement goal is not moments of happiness, but rather happiness and fulfillment all day, every day. How do you achieve that? What causes unhappiness in retirement if it's not the money or lack thereof? For many retirees, the new freedom they were sure would bring happiness turns into depression. Do you know you're 40% more likely to be depressed in retirement than when you were working? And your greatest risk is in your first year of retirement. What? Does that even make sense? Unfortunately, it does. When you were working, you had structure, identity, purpose, proof that you mattered every day, and plenty of social interaction, even if you didn't particularly care for some of your coworkers. Now, you can sleep in as late as you want, but is there any reason to get up? This is where the rubber meets the road. After joyously sleeping in, at first, then you begin to feel lost. So, how do you put structure back in your life? We have a special gift for our readers before we go on to a quick overview of how to find your purpose in retirement. Retire from work, not life. It is a whole package of how to put purpose in your life in retirement. Please take advantage of it. Structure and purpose. You determine the structure you want, but how? What creates structure? A schedule to do what? Retirement is your opportunity for a second act. If you're struggling to find meaning, try exploring activities that align with your values and passions. Better yet, plan that structure before you retire. Finding noteworthy ways to spend your days can motivate and fulfill you. Do you have any interests in volunteering or a hobby you've always thought about pursuing? Maybe you have thought about a pet, but still didn't want to leave it alone all day while you were at work. All of these will continue to require structure and can give you purpose again. Have you donated to your church regularly, but feel it might be difficult now to be as generous? Be generous with your time. It's harder for them to get people's time than their money. Many of our retirees volunteer at the local hospital, which gives them structure and a feeling of being needed. Others volunteer at historic sites or public gardens as guides, while others volunteer in the local senior community. Some share valuable knowledge they've gained with groups seeking speakers so they can share all their knowledge with them. Volunteering also enhances social interaction. A real reason for depression is loneliness and social isolation. What is social isolation? Social isolation is when a person lacks relationships or contact with others and has little to no social support. But don't we all have families? Yes, but where do they live? How often do they call? How often do you get time to spend with them in person? Loneliness is the leading cause of depression in retirement. There are many reasons retirees tend to be lonely. To understand the social dynamics of retirement, go back and read issue number 3, Retirement Force number 2, Money Won't Fix This in Retirement. There are dire effects on your health without having social interaction. Loneliness can trigger mental health conditions, creating a vicious cycle where loneliness induces depression. Did you know that according to the CDC, social isolation and loneliness can increase a person's risk for heart disease and stroke, type 2 diabetes, depression and anxiety, suicidality and self-harm, dementia, and earlier death? Look at that list. Aren't many of these conditions those we've been told are common as we age? Why? Shouldn't we do everything we can to avoid or delay these problems? Let's create your second act. Do you have a hobby you've always wanted to pursue but never had the time? One of our retirees, Chuck, is a former firefighter who has turned his woodworking hobby into a nationwide business, creating custom crafted branded tables for fire stations. That wasn't what he expected to happen, but it's been exciting for him to see his work so admired. Another retiree has always loved gardening, though she could never have the time to devote to learning and doing it. Then in retirement, she discovered an online course that led her to grow not only her own garden, but also create seedlings and cuttings to sell. My personal hobby is also gardening. Last year, I harvested over 100 pounds of tomatoes, as well as peppers, zucchini, squash, lettuce, spinach, eggplant, which is my favorite, and much more. What did I do with that harvest besides eat it? I gave it to neighbors, friends, made pasta sauce, and freeze-dried it for future use. I started out knowing nothing about ponds or gardening. Perhaps you know nothing about dogs, cats, or any other pet you might want. Have you put off getting a pet, feeling you just couldn't see how to train and take care of him while you were away most of the day? Who would walk him? What would he do or get into while you're away all day? Now that you're home, a pet is not only a companion, but also requires some structure, giving you a reason to get up and structure your day. But what kind of pet should you get? You can now look at all the possibilities and decide whether you want a companion, a pet to groom and show, or a small pet to play with, or a rescue, helping an animal have a home. You may even want to be a foster parent to a future service dog or a therapy dog that can be certified to visit hospitals, schools, and nursing homes. That would take some training and work, but how rewarding it is to cheer up those in a facility. A recent study focusing on adults aged 65 and up across 16 countries found that people with a hobby are less depressed and report better health, happiness, and life satisfaction. For many, retirement isn't the beautiful time they imagined. To create your second act requires real thought and digging into yourself as you have probably never done before. If money alone doesn't bring us happiness and getting a new purpose is important, how important is our current lifestyle, our health? Retirement is often a trigger for a life reflection we may have delayed for years. These reflections need to be addressed before we retire. Why? Retirement itself is considered a major life stressor that can trigger anxiety and depression. The combination of multiple life changes in any given year can throw us off dramatically. The main causes of stress, in addition to retirement, according to WebMD, include some common times that we do things in retirement, such as having financial problems, moving, relationship issues, traumatic events, getting caught in a scam, personal health issues, death of a spouse or a close family member, caring responsibilities. Let's go through them one by one. Financial problems. Prevent this stress before retirement by making a plan. And moving. How often do I hear, I'm so excited, I'm going to move back to my hometown or near my adult child when I retire, or perhaps to better weather or less expensive town, you might pick it. One of the biggest obstacles to that move is cleaning out or decluttering the home you may have lived in for 20 years. We had one couple that retired, but it took 2 years to agree on decluttering before they could even begin to move. We have seen this many times, more than once. Have you found that new home already? Know the cost? How are you going to make the transition from selling your home to paying for a new one? Do you know the moving costs, the interest rate? If you're waiting until you retire, that's going to double your stress. Not to mention, it's harder to get a mortgage after retirement. Are you prepared to buy without putting the sale of your home as a contingency? Because that doesn't work in today's world. If you're not moving to something, just trying to escape where you are, be it the traffic, the cost of living, or taxes, you might be mightily disappointed. Didn't your mother say to you, the grass isn't always greener on the other side? She was right. Just remember, if you're unhappy where you are, you're bringing yourself and your unhappiness with you wherever you go. We always recommend living in that new community for at least a year before you buy there and keep your current residence. Otherwise, you'll never be able to come back if you change your mind. Talk about regret and stress. Then there are relationship issues. You may think, huh, we've been married 30 years. We don't have any relationship issues. Are you sure? When was the last time you spent more than a weekend together, not on vacation? Those little idiosyncrasies you can ignore over the weekend may become a large bone of contention when you're together 24/7. To avoid issues after retirement, we usually recommend giving it a try before retirement. How? Well, you may have unused leave or sick leave you won't get paid for. Spend 24/7 together with no plan to do something. Just be in that house together. Many couples with good marriages fall apart when they retire. Why? Sometimes it feels like you never have any space of your own. Often it's the wife or homemaker who has been running the home for 30 years who doesn't want you to step into her territory or tell her what to do when you just know a better way than what she's been doing. Or perhaps she expects you to take over some of what she does, like the laundry. We had a client who just couldn't fold the t-shirts the way his wife wanted. We jokingly sent a t-shirt folder to his home. Prevent relationship issues by clearing the air now, before you retire. Make an agreement as to who will do what in the home. Have an agreement that each will have their own space if they want it, and when you'll go on and do things together. Men tend to be lonelier than their spouses after retiring, hence, they follow their spouse around, which often aggravates them. It's important to find what you want to do after retirement, your purpose, your identity, your proof that you matter, not depend on your partner for socialization and validation. Often the spouse feels the retiree has invaded their space. We had one couple who constantly screamed at each other, which was tolerable when they barely saw each other, until we got a phone call the year before the husband was supposed to retire. He said, I can't be with her 24/7. I care about her, but I can't do it. We explained he couldn't support two households in retirement on the same plan he had now. He divorced her after an equitable financial agreement was reached, and he had to delay his retirement by another 5 years, which he agreed to. He still takes care of things for her, but he doesn't live with her. We have several couples who wound up living at different ends of the same home and meeting for dinner and evenings, but couldn't spend all day together. If you've been having relationship issues with your spouse or another relative or significant other, it's important to reflect on this before you retire. How will you handle it when you spend so much more time together? A traumatic event can derail your retirement. Some traumas can't be avoided and are covered in the final three stresses below. They usually occur much later after you retire. However, there is one dramatic, traumatic event we've seen very often that you need to prepare to avoid. That's a major financial loss due to a scam. To learn how to avoid this from happening to you, read newsletter issues 4, 5, and 6. This is all too prevalent and real, becoming more powerful against retirees every day. Now, the last three stressors are personal health issues, death of a spouse or a close family member, or caring for an incapacitated family member. These are issues that you hopefully won't have to face immediately upon retirement, but far out in the future. Preparation for these is critical in the long term. If you're facing these stressors sooner rather than later, understand how these will multiply the importance of planning your retirement ahead, not just financially, but for your mental well-being as the stress is multiplied. Final conclusion, what makes for a happy retirement? Making sure you have a financial plan takes one stressor off, but planning for socialization with structure, purpose, identity, and proof that you matter is a key to a happy retirement. To help you prepare for a purposeful retirement, we have a free gift to help you build it. It is an entire set of guides for a purposeful retirement called the Retirement Readiness Center. Now that we've discussed how to mentally prepare for retirement, next week we'll go into the initial steps you can take to secure your retirement.